Hey everybody, it's Yune here, slash Napella. I'm going to be doing a color correction tutorial for Sony Vegas for people who do not have magic bullet looks, because I know a lot of people like me have trouble downloading it because it is really dumb. But I was talking with Mike about it and I decided I would do it. So here we go. I'm going to be using some clips I got from Python that he sent me for a little series I'm going to be doing soon. So the goal with color correction, in my opinion, is you kind of want to not change the way it looks. So you don't want to go too overboard. You essentially just want to boost it and make it feel a lot more powerful than the normal clips. Like if you look here, you're not going to see, this is a clip of him getting a guy on garden. You're going to see that it's just normal garden. He's got light map on and everything, but so yeah, we're going to take a clip. Let's go to a good spot so we can sort of judge it well. How about here? So this is a nice spot. So when you're using color correction, I'm going to be showing you with the default stuff. I'm not going to be using magic bullet because I don't have looks, and I think it's better to teach people the hands down way. So the first thing you can use is obviously the straight out color corrector, and now it's got 3 wheels here and then a gain, offset, saturation, and gamma thing here. And so saturation is going to obviously make it more saturated, sort of emphasize the color more. Gamma is less important. Gamma will sort of make it more whitish versus more blackish. You want to just kind of keep it where it is at the beginning. So let's go back to the beginning. Gain, offsets, kind of same idea. You kind of just want to leave these alone a little bit. I kind of like to turn offset and gain down just a slight bit. And so now we've got our other parts. These are our 3 color wheels, one for low, one for mid, and one for high. So the high is going to be for the highlights in your scene. Like if you see on the screen, you're going to see that the white spots, the lighted spots, they're the ones that are going to change when you add the highlight section. The mid section, this is sort of the all around. This is going to be the general feel of the whole scene. And the low section is sort of like the shadows. Like if you look now, I'm going to put them a little more blue, and you'll see that the shadows, instead of being more blackish, they're now more bluish. So you can just sort of play around with these. I like to sort of use everything to kind of get a generally good color correction. I kind of like to, I find blue, if you add a bluish shadow, it kind of looks pretty cool. So here I've just added, it's kind of subtle. You can see if I take it off and then put it back on, you're going to see a difference. It's kind of, it seems more like a film, I guess you could say. It's got the little bit of the film effect going there. So yeah, that looks pretty good to me. I'm just going to leave that as it is now. Then I'm going to go to the next thing you can do, which is the brightness and contrast. So you can see here I've got a couple presets I've made for doing multiple clips on all that stuff, but I'm going to show you from the starter spot. So brightness and contrast. Contrast is really, I think, important. Contrast sort of differs the amount between shadows and lightness. Like if you see, I'm going to raise the brightness a little bit, and then I'm going to raise the contrast even more. And what that sort of does is that it makes it, I don't know how you describe that, but you can see there's more of a difference between the light spots and the dark spots, and I think that really builds to the actual clip. If you scroll through here, you're going to see that you have to be careful, of course, when you're doing color correction, because you might find that it looks really good on one part and then really bad on another. But I think this generally looks pretty good. It seems kind of more theatrical, I guess you could say. Then you've got color curves. Color curves is another important part. It's sort of like a combined version of both, you could say. The curves, you can edit them, and that will change the brightness, the offset, the gamma, etc. But the main part of the curves is the fact that you can actually bend. And if you see you bend it, it makes it changes the lighting, basically everything about the image. It makes it, I like to turn it down a little bit, and just doing the main curve will adjust all 3 channels, obviously the red, the green, and the blue channel, but you can go individually, select the channels here, and do it, and that will, for example, if you put the red one more up, it's going to make this scene more red, blue, green, etc. Same idea for all of them. So now we're going to go to, I think that's all the basic things. Obviously you're going to combine these elements to create the color correction you want to have. I'm liking where this is right now, so I'm just going to leave it. I have a bunch of presets that I've already done for when I normally do videos. I usually use this dirty one, but for this situation I'll show you everything. Now, looking through here, I don't think there's any other ones you particularly need to know about, but for now I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can sort of improve this. So right now you've got your basic color correction, but you know, I'm sure in these standards, the way videos are these days, that's not going to be necessarily good enough. So I'm going to show you some other little things that you can do to sort of improve your color correction and build your color correction. So the first thing is, if you make double layers, like if you take your first layer and copy it, you can change the layer type. So you want to go to add, and what add will do is add will sort of layer in the scenes on top of each other. If you have a thing with a black background and just a shape, it will cut out the black. It kind of gets rid of the black part and gives you the rest of the color. That's why here you can sort of see the white spots are really illuminated, but the black spots aren't much different. So this is really good if you're trying to make like a really high contrast image. It's not very useful in this situation just because some people might like the way it looks, but personally I'm not liking it too much. So for this situation it's not necessary, but you can do some really good stuff with add layers. You can also add overlays using add layers. Here, let me pull out a random overlay. So this here is a fire overlay, an art beat, and you can see here it does a big explosion. I can actually put that in on top as an add layer, and it will cut out the black and leave me with just the fire. As you can see there, it's not set up properly, so it's got the little sides and everything, but you get the general idea. And people can do some really cool shot effects, like they can add a nice little burst and a nice little lens flare and stuff using add layers. But going back to here, so let's put this back to source alpha. Source alpha is the default one. Now we have a source alpha layer here. I'm gonna actually blur some parts that are not necessary. Like I'm gonna I want to blur the outside of the shot by putting focal points into your composition, I guess I'll call it. You can really make a good effect. So I'm gonna take this top layer and I'm gonna drop Gaussian blur into it, and so you're gonna immediately see it's a little different. It's not very different, but it's noticeably different, I guess you could say. I'm gonna drop that up to, let's put it on 7. I like 7. It's a good blend amount, you could say. And then I'm going to, but you don't want to blend the whole thing, right? You want to have your focal point. So what you can do is you can either mask it, which I don't want to do right now because that takes a lot more time and doesn't have much of a difference. So instead I'm going to go to the cookie cutter tool, and I'm going to take this one. I don't use that's my preset. I'm going to take the circle in, center blurred out, and you're going to immediately see that the center part is now more sharpened. The rest is blurred, but the center part has been cut out. Let me blur out the bottom one, and just so you can see the reactions immediately. I have a slow computer, so it's hard to tell. I'm going to set this on low. So let me scroll down here to this clip. I'm going to take it out. So there's the hole in the blurred layer. I'm going to want to move it down. I want to actually switch it to an oval on its side. I'm going to put it right on where the person is, and then I'm going to increase the feather and increase the size, just so it gets sort of the middle part of the screen where all the action happens, the crosshairs, the guy, etc. And then I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and increase the feather. The feather just sort of helps blend between the blurred spot and the non-blurred spot. So now I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to put it on full. And let's move to a part where it's more better to see. You're going to see here it's got a, it looks quite good, I think. If you were to render this out, it's going to look pretty cool. I'll put another example of sort of the same idea that I did with another clip, but that's the general idea. You want to you can do this with scenery too, cinematics. You can use, I think masks work better in that situation, but if you want to make sort of a foreground versus a background, you can do that by essentially just making two layers, blurring the top layer and cutting a mask out of the actual clip you want to have. So yeah, that's just basic color corrections that you can do without Magic Bullet looks, without After Effects, just with Vegas, and I think they work pretty well. I'm sure you'll find they work pretty well too. Thanks for watching this tutorial. If you want to watch some of my actual videos, go on ahead, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.